Good afternoon. I'm Richard Martin. I'm your host of M&A TV. I'm here with Farhad Jalinous, who is a partner at White & Case's Global International Trade and Global M&A Group. How are you today?
Good,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Farhad, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're working on at White & Case?
Sure, so I chair the National Security and CFIUS practice at White & Case. I've been there for 3 years now. I've been a national security lawyer for over 25 years. There are really two areas to my practice. One of them is I help companies clear the review process by the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. And this is for inbound FDI into the US in transactions that have some nexus to US national security. I also help foreign-owned companies get security clearances to do classified work for the US government. As I said, I've been doing this for a long time. It's a very exciting area. It's become, and in particular on the CFIUS side, it's become more and more exciting over the past few years. Really started to evolve in the early 2000s, and it really hasn't stopped evolving. The type of transactions that we are seeing, the areas that are of interest to the United States government from a national security perspective, all of it is very interesting, and it is very much a topic of discussion these days.
So that's interesting. So can you tell me a little bit about, as much as you possibly can, what kind of technology the government is actively interested in today?
So there's been a lot of interest and attention to some of the areas that are related to artificial intelligence. There's been a great bit of interest over the past few years in areas such as autonomous driving, machine learning. There's been a long-standing interest in the semiconductor space. And there's also been a great deal of interest in cybersecurity and technologies and companies that have mass accumulations of data. There is a very keen sense of national security concern that is around that type of ability to have that kind of access to data has been of great interest.
And what does that mean for companies that are using these technologies for private enterprise purposes?
Well, so they have to be very keenly aware of the interests of the US government from a national security perspective, which means that even if you are a company that is, from your perspective, purely engaged in a commercial activity, but you end up having a great amount of data in your possession, that it is very likely that our government, if there is a foreign company that is going to be looking to make an investment in you, that our government is going to have an interest in that. And so it's very important to have a very good sense of awareness of what are the national security implications of your technology and your business, even if it is purely commercial and it's something that you don't think about on a regular basis, because you really have no reason if you've been in the purely commercial space, and to be realistic in terms of what the expectations are, where you can actually take investments and what kind of investments you can take into your company, and also to be forward-thinking and really plan ahead in terms of what should be an effective strategy if you are looking at foreign source money coming into your business and into your business, on what you should do in terms of proactively addressing the transaction with the government, what you need to think about areas that the government might want to look for more protection, what are areas that are just unrealistic for there to be a continued business if there is going to be foreign investment and a significant foreign investment into the business. So really planning ahead and being mindful of the kind of issues that the US government might have with respect to your technology or the kind of information that you have at your possession is very important.
And what are the potential risks or consequences if CEOs and companies aren't careful in their adoption of technology?
Well, so the process, the whole national security review process that we have is voluntary. So when you think about it, that's the good news and the bad news, right? So you can decide not to go through the process if you so choose. But the downside, though, is that at any point after you close a transaction, the government, if they have an interest in the technology, in the data that you have access to, they can initiate on their own initiative a review. And of course, post-closing, then you can imagine that the consequences, if the government truly does have a concern that either is going to take heavy mitigation to resolve, or it could be a concern that would not be subject to any kind of an effective resolution from the government's perspective, then you are in a between a rock and a hard place, because you've already taken on the investment, but now you have a U.S. national security problem.
Right. So what are the positive aspects of this additional layer of scrutiny that companies are required to go through?
I think ultimately it is it's something that is it's looking after the technology that we have in the United States. It's making sure that the technology is well protected. It's making sure that the information that is being collected on you and me by all sorts of companies that we interact with, sometimes knowingly and often unknowingly, are properly and well protected. And I think that over the long term, that's the kind of thing that ultimately is going to be a benefit to all of us, because it's going to be there are vulnerabilities that come with the ability of somebody who may have malicious intent, or just not pure business intent dealing with our information. There's potential vulnerabilities that they can take advantage of.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
All right.
This has been Farhad Jalinous, partner at White & Case.
Thank you
You so much for your time.